show you're about to hear is meant for mature audiences.
Who cares?
If you're looking to learn something or grow as a human being,
You should probably keep searching. Snowflake. Damn.
Oh, that's fucked up.
this is as unfiltered, raw, and real it's gonna get when it comes to talking about anything and everything. With your hosts, James, Colin, and Jess. This is Simply Uncensored.
Alright, what's up, listeners? So we are back, like always, for another great episode of Simply Uncensored.
Whoop, whoop.
Yes, finally.
Yeah. What's up, guys? So don't forget to go to simplyuncensored.com. Check out all our pages. I just found out that we didn't have a SoundCloud link on the website. And SoundCloud's like one of our main postings. So it's on there now. So go subscribe on SoundCloud. Sorry about that, guys. I dropped the ball on that one.
That's
also,
okay.
It shit happens.
Yeah.
Also, Patreon. That's on our website. It's easy. It's right there when you open up simplyuncensored.com. You can check that out. Seabass was our first patron. So hell yeah,
Seabass.
it's
AC
Patreon.
Bass,
Real name Noah. Thank you.
Mr. Bass.
We appreciate it
Thank you, Mr.
a lot.
Bass.
We'll give Mr. Bass one of these bad boys.
Yes.
Hell yeah, he
Give him a round of
deserves that.
applause.
We're gonna have him on one of these. We need to do an episode for him because he even made us a subreddit. So he's been killing it. He's our
That's
making fan pages and shit.
we need to start doing that. I mean, obviously not right now, but if and when we start getting more patrons, we're gonna need to be doing episodes. Or not. We're not gonna need to be. We will be doing episodes where we have patrons on. So that's maybe another motivation to be a patron. Maybe not. I don't know.
Live
Oh, yeah,
EPs.
You guys got to let us know.
Yeah. Get everybody in. Everybody on board. Everybody. Go to, was it Patron? However the fuck you say it. I didn't even know that was a thing till like a couple weeks ago.
Patreon, Patreon.
Yeah, I just recently got hip to that, so
Yeah, me too.
I'm a noob.
We're learning, guys. We're learning. So today we are talking about the Titanic again. So this will be part 2, if you want to kind of label it part 2. Like our
This
first
is part
miniature
1.
episode was kind of like hey, we're gonna talk about Titanic. Now we're actually gonna talk about it.
I'm trying to sink my Titanic.
Yeah, we're
I sank my Titanic into your mom last night.
Nice.
I'd say we're sinking our teeth into the Titanic today.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the last episode, we kind of just like talked about it. Hey, we're doing the Titanic this time. Hey, we're doing the Titanic.
Well, here's the thing, though. We're talking about sinking shit into other places. What if the Titanic actually didn't sink?
Okay, that
Everybody
will be
knows it
an
didn't.
idea that we'll entertain, but not right now. It's not time for that.
But it didn't.
Everybody knows the
Okay,
Titanic
okay.
didn't sink.
You may be right. Just keep that idea in the back of your head. We'll visit
If you
it later.
know, you know.
this.
So we can hop right into talking about this. So
Do
I
we?
don't know what you guys know about the backstory of the Titanic, and the
much?
White Star Line and everything about it. But White Star Line was the company that made 3 sister ships. Was Titanic, the Olympic, and the Britannic.
Okay.
So those
Titanic,
3
Olympic, and
ships were
Britannic.
all identical, and they're all sister ships.
What is Britannic?
I'm assuming for Britain.
Sounds like Brotanic.
Yeah, I heard that was gigantic. I heard that was the thing, but I guess it's actually the Britannic, and I think I said gigantic in our little intro, but it's whatever. I'm fixing it now.
Gigantic.
I think that someone said that, and
Gigantic
that
sink?
I don't know. But those 3 ships were commissioned by White Star Line to be the Olympic fleet and be the biggest ships in like the cruise lines and to beat out all competition. And this was in 1910 when they first started commissioning it and getting ready and shit.
Starting to build it? Is that what you're saying?
I think
Or
they
does that come
started
later?
building it before then.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see the main voyage was on.
Yeah, it was like
Main voyage was in 1911.
Yeah, 1908 Olympic was started, and then the Titanic was started 10 months after that.
Okay.
So 1908 was when these first 2 just monstrosities of ships were being built. You know, the biggest, ships of their time.
Mm.
It's nuts.
You're saying the first 2 being the Britannic and the Olympic?
Olympic and the Titanic. Yeah.
Olympic
So
and
the
Titanic.
Olympic
Okay.
was the first one. Um, and that was started, and then J.P. Morgan. So I want to mention this. J.P. Morgan actually bought White Star Line indirectly through like lawyers and shit in 1902, and that actually plays a big role in some insurance schemes. I know Jess brought
See,
that up.
see, I was gonna say, see, remember I told you J.P. Morgan had something to do with it. That sneaky old bastard, old white cracker
Yes.
ass.
Yes.
Well, we found out what he has to do with this. So not only did he not go on the Titanic, like cancel his reservation right before, but he owned White Star Line.
He sunk his own ship.
Oh, yes, he did. Yes, he
Those
did.
are heavy, heavy words.
I
Not
mean,
getting into
if you
that.
look when you look at the evidence that backs that theory, it makes almost as much sense as the fact that it just actually sunk on an iceberg. Because there's a lot of supporting evidence that kind of shocked me at first. I was like, God damn. Conspiracy theories are normally all over the place, but this one actually had a little bit of backing to it.
It's like
Oh,
9/11. Just, little things keep popping up, and as little things keep popping up, you're thinking, you know what? That makes sense. I see there's a lot of holes in the
9/11.
story that
Did you
we're
say the
told.
9/11 one made sense?
I don't think 9/11 was a conspiracy.
It doesn't make nothing makes sense. Not even the real story.
The real story never makes sense.
Real story doesn't make sense, and none of the conspiracies make sense. So,
No,
Nothing makes sense.
but
we're not
I
real.
don't know with the Titanic. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't seen good enough conspiracy evidence about it. But
Well,
no,
we'll
we're getting into
talk
that
about it.
later.
You keep saying getting into it later. When is later? Why does it matter when we get into the conspiracies?
I mean, unless you want to talk about it right now, I don't know
I'm
anything
just
about it.
throwing it out
So
there that J.P. Morgan bought White Star Line. Don't
yes,
forget that. We all know
in
J.P.
1902,
Morgan, 1902, like 100+ years ago. Look where he's at now. Look how fucking
12
rich his
years
company
before the
is.
sinking of the Titanic.
Does J.P. Morgan own Wells Fargo? Or at one point did he?
Couldn't tell you.
I have no clue.
I'm just curious. So, anyways, back to the Olympic fleet, the 3 sister ships. So, the Olympic, which was the first of these 3 ships, was launched October 1910. Maiden voyage was June 1911. Was the biggest ship in the world at the time. So they say, Titanic was known as one of the biggest ships of its time. Well, the Olympic was the exact same size. It was pretty much built the exact same.
Hmm.
So
Was
on
almost the same ship.
it was the same ship. All 3 were the exact same fucking ship, literally. Um, on the Olympic's first voyage, it crashed into a British Navy cruiser, which was the HMS Hawk.
Oh yeah, I did see something about this.
Yeah, and this
Didn't
cruiser
it
like
get a bunch
dented the
of
back of the
damage?
ship. Yeah, it scraped like two big ass holes in the back of the hull, and then like flooded two of the compartments in the back. It didn't sink the ship or anything, but
Right, because these ships were designed actually to float with two compartments flooded.
Ship was unsinkable.
That's what they thought. It's like,
yeah,
oh,
It's
this
all
just
wrong.
four
added to
compartments can
the whole
flood.
part.
That's
Like,
fine.
oh, it got hit by a cruiser and still didn't sink.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that was even more of the oh yeah, this ship cannot be sunk. But the Olympic was their child.
She was fucked up.
That bitch went through a whole lot. And I'll get into it because there's that ship. Oh my god, like I can just list like the things that ship went through.
Mm.
But it hit the Hawk, it dented it, and got sent back to get fixed. Now, because it was the captain's fault, which was Captain Smith, Captain Edward Smith, he was the captain
Captain
of the Olympic
Smith.
and hit the cruiser. Was found at fault,
Smith.
so White Star had to pay for all the damages and shit. And then, like their investigation, White Star's investigation to whose fault it actually was not the captain, so they made him the captain of the Titanic.
I
Fucking
was just about to
retards.
ask, does Captain Smith, does that name come back up again? The answer is obviously yes.
Yeah. So he
Jeez.
crashed their fucking ship, and they're like, "Hey, you want to be the
You
captain of
crashed
the
this one?
Titanic too? Yeah, yeah. Can you
Oh my
like, hey, can you
god.
crash this one for me? I obviously you're good
Wow.
at crashing ships. I need you to
This is
do it
actually
again."
this is the first time I'm hearing about this that he was actually captain of the ship that ran into that other boat. Oh my god, dude.
I
That
know,
is insane.
isn't that fucked up?
The whole
That is
situation is fucky.
insane.
It is though. It really is, cause like, why the hell would they do that? And I also read that this captain was a complete fucking retard.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about this later, but especially in like when it came to panic time on the Titanic, he completely froze and did nothing. So,
Yeah, I read that. Did they say anything more about that? Like, I
oh
saw it.
yeah,
Just he was
oh
staring
yeah,
off into the abyss.
yeah. He said that he was just staring out into the ocean, like he already knew what was gonna happen, but he wasn't giving anyone orders. He never even gave the order to start loading people onto the lifeboats.
Now,
Man,
don't you think that's a little suspicious? Maybe like he was following orders, like he
I don't know.
wanted the
I think he was
boat to
just,
sink.
He's got to be a man. He's got to go down with
dude.
the boat.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Rules.
thinking. I'm thinking that's going through his head at like a million miles an hour. He's like,
Like
this
I'm gonna
ship is
die.
going down. I am dead for sure. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean that's what they isn't that like the respect the captain is supposed to do? He's supposed to go down with the
Yeah,
ship.
I think that's like a
yeah.
pirate law, not really a
No,
law of the sea, but
it's a maritime law for sure. It's not a law, but normally, like
You a
normally they
bitch if you
do.
don't.
Yeah,
yeah. But
yeah,
I'm saying like I think that started in like the old Viking days and old pirate days and old wooden ships and shit
yeah, probably. But
Gotta,
before
gotta keep your
lifeboats.
valor.
there was a cruise ship. Really quick side note. There was a cruise ship that tipped over somewhere in Europe, and the captain actually fled the ship, and he got arrested.
Oh yeah, that happened a while back. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
funny as shit. He just tipped that motherfucker over.
Yep,
And then
it's just
ran like,
lying
oh
on its
shit.
side for like a week. Like, oh, there's people dead in here. Just got
That
off the boat.
sucks.
Yeah, that
Go
would suck.
That's
go to
kind
the
of funny.
beach, hang out for a little bit.
I can just picture it like you see a crowd of people all just gathered around watching this boat that's just tipped over, and then you just see
It's
one
yeah.
guy just fleeing, just running for his fucking
Hit
No,
life.
feet.
I'm
He's
pretty sure
gone.
he just got on a lifeboat with some
Hussein
other crew
bolted his ass
members.
out of there.
Or he just took all
Yeah,
his clothes off and tried to blend in with the rest of them.
he could have. That would be even worse.
Cover himself in mud.
I don't know.
I
Anyways,
am native.
The
Where
fuck they
are
got that big ass
titties?
boat? That's a hell of a job right there. Get that fucking large ass boat out of that water.
oh yeah, I watched a YouTube video on that. It's pretty crazy how they ended up doing it.
Oh, they're just a bunch of cranes
got-
and shit.
No, they got like these, because they had to like push it up, and nothing's like strong enough to push it up, but at the same time keep it still. So they had to make these gigantic airbags. I don't know. It's a cool story.
You need Aquaman to come over and start ramming it with whales.
Basically. Yeah. Or Mr. Incredible.
Oh yeah, that's light work for him.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyways,
a little off
James,
topic there.
we
We can go back to our little story. Back to story time.
like this story time.
We all know we love story time. I've done a lot of stories on this podcast throughout the days.
Yeah, this is a story podcast, by the way, episode, if you can't tell.
Yeah, it is. So, the Olympic, when it crashed in the cruiser, the damage on this cost $150 million, like in today's money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that would be back then. I forget. They just talked about today's money, but $150 million.
For the damage?
Yeah, yep. So that was the damage that White Star paid for crashing this fucking boat.
For crashing the
Olympic.
Olympic, okay.
Yep. So that got fixed. While that was getting fixed, they brought out the Titanic. And this was actually the Titanic's maiden voyage.
Okay.
Was April 14th, 1915. I feel like I didn't even write this down. Do I have this right? April
Don't tell me you
14th,
just
1950.
memorized this shit, dude.
April 14th, 1912.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I was close enough. But you know what I
Close
mean.
enough. Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what happened timeline wise. Titanic came out, and then Colin, you wanna talk about the actual sinking of the Titanic?
Yes.
mother-
Are we at that
Damn.
point? Are we done with the background?
Yeah. At this point, I got more on the Olympic, but it's like after the events of the Titanic. So we can talk about that later.
Okay. So yeah, basically, well, it starts way before, like, the Titanic. Obviously, this whole event, it's just super. It's like weird and like fateful, and I don't know. It's just the weird vibe. You know what I'm trying to say?
Like yeah,
Like,
from the
everything
start.
had to be lined up exactly perfect. I don't know. That's just how I kind of see it.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of
Anyways.
weird things. There's a lot of people that backed out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of wealthy people that backed out. It wasn't just J.P. Morgan. It was like 3 other really wealthy people that helped back this Titanic and helped back the cruise line. They had all backed out.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, this is something different. This is the biggest ship in the world at the time
Right.
for the the wealthy elite, and then
Elite.
like 700 plus lower class that all shared a bathroom in the goddamn there's literally like 2
Oh my
bathrooms for like the third class that the
Dude.
700 people had to share.
R.I.P.
peasants.
Most people that died were third class.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Tickets were $20 back then. $20.
That's expensive.
That's like a couple hundred in our time.
Yeah.
To go on a cruise now, it's like a couple thousand.
I want to go on a cruise again. I've been on a cruise when I was little, but it would be dope to go again.
All right.
Dude,
anyways,
they have a one where you can
Fateful.
like Titanic, where you can go to the site of the Titanic. It's really cool. I'm sorry, go ahead, Colin.
What? Go to the place where the Titanic sank?
Yeah, they have like an anniversary thing that's literally a cruise line that takes
Ugh.
the exact same path
thanks.
as the Titanic does, and it stops at the spot that the Titanic sunk.
I want to go down the submarine and look at it though.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, that would be dope.
I'd go down the sub. Actually, I don't know subs. Ugh. Anyways, fateful night. Okay, 9 a.m. on April 14th. Okay, the sinking happened on I think it was the 15th.
Yeah.
Anyways, that morning, they're on the water, right? 9 a.m. They get a message from the RMS Carolina warning of ice. And then they got a couple more warnings throughout that day. But then when it came to night, that's when it truly started to happen. Right around 11:39, that's when an iceberg was spotted. Frederick Fleet was the guy who spotted it. Look out in the observation tower, 95 feet above the deck.
On the Titanic?
Yeah, on the Titanic. Yep. Well, anyways, this was a really it was dark, but it's kind of hard to explain how dark it was because there would have been I don't know. This is kind of hard to explain because I read this and I didn't quite fully understand it. But basically, what I got from it was that the air was warmer than the water, and so it caused this like mist. So it made it like super super dark. Like they couldn't see the stars that were like near the horizon or anything like that.
Yeah, it was
So
refractions and mist from
Yeah,
the air.
hmm So they couldn't spot icebergs, and when they spotted it, obviously it was way too late. He rang the bell 3 times, radioed the bridge, but it's estimated 26 seconds. I think they estimated this by using like the speed or whatever, I don't know. 26 seconds after it got spotted, it got hit, and it hit the iceberg. It was like a spike on the bottom of the iceberg under the waterline, and that kind of scraped against the side of the ship for about 7 seconds. So.
And down she went.
Yep.
So they say
Basically-
that not only did it hit the side, there's also some theories that say that it also scraped the bottom, and it cut a hole in the
No.
bottom. But they can never confirm because they can't
No.
look at the bottom of the ship.
They know what it is.
How
They
can you
didn't-
confirm it though if the ship's underwater and like against,
'Cause
like buried in the sand?
It's not well, I mean, kind of. What happened was the iceberg didn't cut into the metal at all. It just the ship was going so fast it kind of crunched the metal, but since the metal was so cold and like fragile, it just bent all the rivets out at the connecting points, and it just opened like a slit. You know what I'm trying to say? It
Yeah.
didn't make a hole. It just opened it up. About
Here's what I
39
wanna
feet
know,
long.
though.
That's what they said.
If they think, or if anybody actually thinks the Titanic didn't sink, it's at the bottom of the ocean, and from what I understand, the Olympia or Olympia or Olympus, whatever, Titanic had certain identifying marks. Why don't they just go, look maybe?
I think that's the biggest thing because there are people that have been down there many times, and I think they would have noticed. I mean, if you've ever seen pictures and stuff,
Yeah.
it's very corroded. They didn't find the ship until 1985. So this was 70 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I
There's
mean,
nothing left.
this ship is pretty destroyed at this point. To be able to find these key differences between the two, and I'm not even like these key differences are subtle. Like it's all little things.
Well, where are the other two boats at? Why don't they look at the one that's supposedly the Olympus and see if it's actually the Titanic? I mean, whatever happened to the other boats?
I never got into that because this was after the Titanic was sank, but the Olympic actually went on for quite a full life and was destroyed in 1937. So it did a lot for the British Navy and for passenger line, and it did very well. And then after 26 years, they demolished it, literally destroyed it.
Well, damn.
And then the Britannic sank.
Oh, where'd that sink at?
Britannic sank in Greece in one of the canals, so it struck a mine. And this was after the Titanic sank and after the Olympic had got fixed. So they had whole new hulls and all new safety features and whatnot. Like it was like two compartments instead of just one that the Titanic had. The pillars inside the hulls were all different and better. And this ship sunk in less than an hour after hitting this mine.
Piece of shit.
Dude, that's what mines are designed to do, dude. Just blow the ship to shit, I guess.
Yeah,
That's bullshit.
yeah, no, it destroyed that ship. So that one sank.
Oh, wait,
Um,
real quick. Speaking of terrible, terrible ships that got sunk, if this episode gets popular, we got to do an episode on the USS Indianapolis, I want to say. That was a horrible sinking. Anyways, continue.
No, that was pretty much. I was just telling Jess, what happened to those other two ships. So like, I guess you could go look at them, but they're both destroyed at this point.
Yep, made it hard to find out. But I mean, I don't think any of this came out till the early 2000s. But they make everything a conspiracy theory now. But I think the Titanic holds a little bit of weight with the fact that J.P. Morgan and these rich dudes got together and we'll just make this big insurance fraud. They just didn't expect all the people to die, but it makes sense. I mean, at least it makes sense.
I think it's kind of one of those things where, like, as time goes on, technology gets better, and like people start sharing their ideas, and that's why all these conspiracies are popping up because people are starting to realize, like, they know the story, they hear the story, and they realize, well, this doesn't add up. So they do some digging, and they have the technology to do some digging, and that's where the conspiracies quotations pop up. Because people are actually have the technology to learn these things and figure them out now. When back then they didn't. You could literally get away with anything in the early 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I kind of wish I was around then. I would have been a gangster back then. I'd have been like a Bugsy, and I'd have been a full on Thompson carrying, badass, fedora wearing
Wow.
gangster.
Oh, I'd be murdering
Moonshining.
everybody. Fucking Charles Manson up in this bitch.
Oh, damn! We got a killer on here.
Seriously.
But
Seriously.
yeah. So I want to point out some things about the Olympic too. So the Titanic sunk by hitting this iceberg, right? Like nicked the side of the iceberg and just destroyed the fucking thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
The
Took down it had 16 compartments. It was designed to float with 2 flooded. 6 got compromised, and it was done. Literally, the designer knew within 5 minutes of it happening what was gonna happen.
well, I mean,
Damn.
Go on about the Olympic. Sorry.
no, you're good. That is part of it. So the Olympic destroyed 2 other ships. So it got hit by the Hawk,
What?
the British naval ship. It ran over. So it was commissioned by the British Navy to bring troops back and forth from Canada and Britain. Just transfer troops. It ran over a German U-boat.
Oh.
Like straight ahead, there's a German U-boat that was trying to shoot torpedoes at them. And what they did is the captain just full on
Charged
hit the
it.
gas and just ran over the U-boat and destroyed it and then finished its voyage home.
There you go.
Fuck that U-boat.
Like, destroyed this fucking thing. And then after it was after they were done with the Navy, it became a liner again. There was a ship, like a light ship, that directs the cruise ships into the bay in New York. And it was a misty night, and it didn't see the light ship that's used as a guide, and it just ran that bitch over too,
Oh.
and sunk that thing instantly.
Oh my god. So savage.
So this ship just like destroyed everything.
And this thing is basically a twin of the Titanic, right?
Oh yeah, spot on. Except when they redid it, they redid the hulls a little bit differently. It wasn't
Okay.
one big hull. They separated into two, so instead of 8,
So
it
if you
had
can just
16.
imagine the Titanic, if you've seen the movie Titanic, if you can just imagine that ship instead of hitting an iceberg, running over a submarine.
Yeah, just destroying a German U-boat.
That's funny.
Damn.
It is kind of funny.
Fuck.
But then you gotta think this little tiny iceberg destroyed this fucking thing.
Yeah, I
and
was about
just
to
sent it.
say, seems like that would cause a lot of damage to it.
I mean, you'd think.
But I don't know, the way they hit the iceberg was also really important too because they were trying to turn away from it. You know what I mean? They didn't exactly hit it straight on. So and then it kind of glanced off. I don't know.
Yeah, if you've ever heard the saying that if the Titanic hit that iceberg head on, there wouldn't have been 1,500 deaths.
Really?
Yeah, it would have. I think they say that it would have sank, but it would have taken a lot longer, and there would have been help on its way.
Really?
Because they
Huh.
sent out a distress signal. And when
Yeah,
they
they
sent
did.
out the distress signal, the Olympia, not the Olympia, the Olympic was actually on a voyage at this exact same time and was 900 some odd kilometers away. So when the Titanic started to sink, the Olympic actually
Really?
started heading towards the site to help, but then backed off because the captain of the Olympic was afraid that if they just showed up to pick up the people in the water, that they would be too scared that the ship that they were just on just came back to pick them up, that they wouldn't get on
Oh,
the ship.
yeah. I mean, I kind of
That'd be
do
kinda fucking
understand
freaky.
that. Yeah.
I mean, it
Sadly enough.
makes sense.
It'd be better than fucking in that cold ass
That's
water.
what I'm
Oh,
saying.
yeah.
Like, I don't care what it is. Like, if my ship sinks and the exact same ship comes along to pick me up, I'm gonna get on it because I don't want to die.
True.
Go help those fucking
fuck
people. Who
that.
cares about
Oh my
superstitions and
God.
ghost ships and stupid shit like that?
Dude. I don't
Not a
know.
ghost ship.
Oh my God. I had some bad thoughts that were inspired because of what I read about how people died in the water.
Very coldly.
Yeah, people from the lifeboats, like some accounts were like they were in the lifeboats and the ship went under, and for about 15 minutes it was like every emotion you've ever heard that was like related to fear. So like they'd be screaming, they'd be crying, they'd be just, whatever. But after that 15 minutes, it was like a dull. It was like it wasn't silence or anything. It was just like a dull. Like everyone was just, oh God, why is this happening? Like that, literally like that tone. Before silence. And, oh man,
I mean,
That's
it fucking happens. So I want to wrap up part 1 here
28 degree.
kind of close. I do want to mention one more thing that I thought was really interesting, just in case I'm not on part 2. There was a nurse named Violet Jessup. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her last name right, but she was on the Olympic when it crashed into that carrier, that Navy carrier, was on the Titanic and survived, and then was a nurse on the Britannic, because the Britannic was a hospital ship for the Navy. They didn't even make that into the liner because they needed money. They just gave it to the fucking Navy at this point. Like, here, use it for a hospital ship. So she was a nurse on this ship, and when that went down, she was on the first lifeboat to drop, and that lifeboat dropped without the captain's permission. So the propellers were still spinning. So when that boat hit the water, the lifeboat got sucked into the propeller,
Oh my God.
killed everybody instantly. Except for her.
Awesome.
She jumped off just in time.
What?
Nice.
Give me the name of this person. Say it slowly.
Violet Jessup. Jessup. Violet Jessup. Literally, the only people that died on the Britannic were in that first lifeboat that got sucked in the propeller. Everyone else lived, except for her. She was on that lifeboat, but jumped off.
Oh my god.
That's kind of
That's
nuts.
insane. That is insane.
This bitch was on all three. She worked on the first two as like a stewardess, and then was a nurse on the third one. Survived all three. Well, I mean, the first one wasn't really sinking, but
What a bad bitch.
Seriously.
interesting.
On a
though.
side note, imagine being sucked into a propeller.
I'm trying to get sucked.
Yeah, for sure. Also, one more thing before I forget. J.P. Morgan, 5 days before the Titanic's voyage, he upgraded his insurance.
Oh yeah.
5 days before the voyage, he upgraded insurance and ended up getting $160 million in today's money, which was like 12.5 back then, which just happened to be the amount that it cost to fix the Olympic.
Didn't
Wah, wah, wah.
something like that happen around 9/11 too?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did.
Bum,
Kind of
bum.
weird how insurance fraud works like that, where they start getting money.
Weird
So
how it'd be like that.
maybe they destroyed the Olympic because it was already hit. So they're like, all right, well, let's just throw the Titanic's name on this and sink this bitch because this is a lost cause, and then get the money that we needed to
Get it
make
all
it
going.
run,
Oh.
just so we could sink it again.
I do see how the evidence piles up, but I don't know.
It kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
It does. That's what I mean. I can see how it piles up.
And we can say the conclusion for part 2 when we will make a definite decision on what happened.
Hell yeah.
I will be forced.
Well, it's been a good episode. Be sure
Well-
to hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell for notifications as well.
Ding.
I don't care what you're on, YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify.
Well, no,
Subscribe.
Check it all out.
SoundCloud automatically works if you follow. That's all I know.
Yep.
What do you mean SoundCloud automatically works if you follow?
It'll send you a notification if you follow them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you can always see our new episodes because we always got something to put out. And then be sure to throw us a comment just to let us know you're there. And anything else, guys?
See you next episode.
Yep.
Oh, you got nothing else to say, Jess?
Taxation is theft. That's always a good one.
All right, boys. We will see you for part 2.
See everybody
See ya.
later.
Have a good day or night.